Hello, myself Sunil Ramakrishnan, Nair, and here basically we are discussing about the attraction of youth. In attraction, basically we are discussing now. Currently, basically we are discussing about one topic that is basically uh, the person basically and his generation is supposed to go, or the person's generation is not supposed to go. So, in that discussion, basically currently is ongoing. So, I will take one example basically. As in basically the Bollywood story creation part basically is of the Bollywood group and Hollywood group. Hollywood group basically they handles the outside, and Bollywood group says that basically we are handling everything of inside. Inside means in India basically. India group basically. That also you can say. Because few countries basically are run by the India basically. Run means they are basically completely depend on the India country basically. So here basically we will take one story basically. One person basically that was person was Bollywood person, and one was basically the businessman, and one was basically the IT industry. Basically, they always keeps on problem watching, and they literally when they see that basically the problem basically has currently occurred, so they literally jump into it, and they basically say that basically we have these services, we have that services. If you want, you can use that services. So the business sector basically of the software industry are like this basically, and they are very basically directly connected with the news channel basically wherever the problems basically are. One example basically I have taken small vehicle also basically they creates. They say that basically we are into the small vehicle creation also because problem basically can occur from any side basically. So here the basically thing basically is, since that Bollywood group basically told that our story writer basically has written around 1 lakh types of story basically. From that story only the Harvard University, Oxford University, the 3000 University basically was created basically. He basically was literally shocked basically. Well, actually he's telling. He told that basically the story of this god, the story of that god, the story of that particular person, the story of particular caste, the story of particular language, the story of particular land, the story of particular states, the story of particular city, the story of particular temple, the story of particular pujari, the story of particular person, the story of particular software company owner, the story of particular manager, the story of particular senior director, the story of uh, particular industrial person, the story of one industry basically created. For example, GIDC is one industry, and then Ankleshwar is basically one industry. So that creator basically, that basically it is created by one person only. Basically. It's not that basically the somebody has automatically from sky basically it has came and the entire creation happened. It's not like that basically. Somebody has created, somebody has done the hard work. The story of that particular person also. So Bollywood groups told that basically we have created these many stories basically, and according to that basically story, somebody is going to connect to that particular story. We have basically already settled the 1 lakh types of story in the environment, with the help of energy company and power company. So anybody basically can touch to that story basically uh, according to the situation basically, according to situation basically which he occurs basically, according to the situation basically occurs to him basically. So the situation basically it's like that basically the government basically says that basically we create the each and every city basically, And in city basically, if you one person told that basically, if you are in this city basically, then you are going to go get to connect into these all stories basically. If you are in that city, then basically you are going to connect to that particular story. So he was basically not able to get actually what actually he want to say. Then he told that basically when the city was created, that time basically the power company, energy company, and the Bollywood and the Hollywood and the entire basically the money creator group and the money currency printing group, they basically told that basically this city basically is going to get these types of stories. Literally, they told directly that you are going to attach with these stories only. It can be romantic story, it can be angry story, it can be uh, war story, it can be any types of story. Basically, you are going to attract to this. And they told that basically the city basically creator basically that are basically the mostly basically governments only creates it. So government told that basically these all are basically we have created around 350 areas, and in 350 areas basically we have set it 350 types of stories basically. If you go to that area, then basically you are going to touch with this story. If you are going to that area, then basically you are going to touch with that story. This that basically like this basically 350 story basically are setted by the Bollywood group and the Hollywood groups. When the city was basically created, that time basically the story was also basically created. When the city was created, that time there is basically the story was also basically created. So he was basically literally shocked basically what actually he's telling, why basically this city basically has set it to this type of stories. This all basically he literally basically told that. Then he told that basically, do you remember that 7 lakh human souls basically? Yeah, basically 7 lakh human souls. I know basically. The city basically, Vadodara city basically has allocated to 7 lakh human souls. So 7 lakh basically child basically are going to get the birth. Means start going to start the birth, but going to get birth that basically we can't decide. We basically starts the birth basically. That much basically is our task. So 7 lakh basically is the human souls basically which is allocated, and they are going to basically do this all stuff basically. That are basically the energy level stuff basically. They are basically energy level stuff basically. Energy level stuff means the Earth planet is going to move this side. That's why basically the 7 lakh human souls are basically created. But here the condition is the person basically who is basically men, his pump basically should not be nasbandi. Because if nasbandi is done basically, then that 7 lakh human souls basically is worst basically. Bekar ho jayega. That is basically he told that basically if he basically do sex 100 times, then also basically he is not going to get birth. Why? Because his nasbandi is already done by one group, by basically one group. That might be basically some different story basically why they have done this, that basically, and how basically the entire country supported that group. That also basically we are going to discuss, and how basically they supported that person. Sorry, that group basically. So here the thing is basically the 7 lakh basically birth going to happen, and that time basically the Earth planet is going to move. This everything is literally planned. Humans, the energy company, the power company, each and every company basically says that we have already planned the story basically, that this will be the city basically where the this all human souls are going. This basically I have told the about the example of the Vadodara city. 7 lakh human souls basically has dumped in the environment, and according to that basically you have to go there, you have to go this way, that way, this way, that way. Like this basically they connected to one person basically story I have already taken, that one person basically was not getting the birth, so he basically told connected to pujari told that do this puja, do that puja, then basically they done this puja. So basically it's entire chain basically. He basically told that it's a entirely. Then basically he told that basically one of the doctor basically told that take this medicine, take that medicine. Then basically he told that the doctor basically told that eat this, eat this fruit, eat that fruit, because that fruit was basically containing the attraction object of that human souls basically. So 7 lakh basically the human souls, and that basically is going to allocate to the blood groups, and the blood groups basically are going to do certain level of task when the earth planet is going to move to that direction, to that particular direction, and that time basically the task is going to happen. And here the main thing is the people basically whose nasbandi has done basically, they basically can't take part. That basically the country basically has taken the decision basically his birth is not supposed to move to that time, that side basically when the earth planet is going to move to that particular area. This was basically decision taken by the country, because one person has taken the decision, that means entire country has taken the decision, because he is staying in that country. So like this basically the things are there basically there. So like this basically he told that 7 lakh human souls are there, like this that, like this 35 3 sorry 350 stories basically has created, 350 stories basically has created, 350 stories basically are created, 350 story basically is created for Vadodara city. 350 areas are there basically, so 350 types of stories basically are created. 350 stories basically created. Reason was basically the the 7 lakh human souls are basically going to take the birth, and they are going to create the future. They are going to set the future. If the 7 lakh basically stays in the Vadodara city only, then their story basically is going to connect to that 350 areas. If they basically shift basically from the city to another city, then basically the story basically gets changed. That is basically the code as a chain story basically. The chain story is also basically very dangerous. That also we are going to discuss. That particular one child basically was taken birth in the Vadodara city. He got this that each and everything basically he got, and then basically the birth basically happened, and then basically he shifted to another city basically. So the story basically of that particular person basically connected to another store city basically. There basically where he shifted basically, he don't know that 350 stories are basically created in the city basically. Even the basically public don't know basically the 350 stories are basically created. But the government people basically who are doing the government task basically, they know basically that 350 stories has created. This person basically got the Nasbandi disease, and he basically is not going to have the child basically. This type the government knows basically everything. So whenever the Earth planet is going to move that side, which is basically planned by the universe group, that time basically the 7 lakh birth basically is going, which is going to take birth. They are going to give contribution to the energy of the Earth planet when the Earth planet is going to move that side at that time basically. So that time basically the person basically who's got the Nasbandi basically he will basically can't able to take the participate, because his next generation is already finished. His next generation is already finished by the one group, basically. That is also basically different story. That is also basically we are going to discuss here what actually that is. So here basically we are discussing that how basically the things are basically getting converted. So 350 is the story. 350 types of areas are there. 7 lakh human souls basically has created in the Vadodara city. 7 lakh birth is going to happen in the Vadodara city. 7 lakh birth is going to happen in the Vadodara city. 350 childs are there. Sorry, 350 stories are there. which is basically created by the Bollywood and Hollywood groups, which is dumped into the Vadodara city. Like this, basically, the Vadodara city is going to move when the Earth planet is going to move to that side. So, like this, basically, assume that there are 1,75,000 cities in the Earth planet. They are going to generate set of stories, and there also basically the human souls basically are dumped in the environment, and they are also going to take the birth in the certain groups in the certain areas basically. They are also basically going to take the birth, and according to that also basically the stories are basically setted, because earth planet is going to move that side, and if the earth planet is going to move that side basically, then basically energy needs to create na? Because earth planet, when earth planet is going to move that side basically, that time basically the earth planet is not supposed to happen anything basically, and the satellite also basically need the control of the earth planet also, otherwise earth planet will get hijacked. That basically hijack means it will get disappear. So that basically name somebody has given as a hijack. So that also basically might happen. So anything basically can happen. According to that, basically the universe groups literally basically decides the plans. So the plans basically are decided by the universe group, created by the satellite groups. Satellite, lots of people say that in satellite basically what they are doing here, they are just literally doing this, that, this, that. But they are actually literally doing the plans. They are creating the plans. They are setting the environment in the universe basically. If this for this plan basically, this is the space basically which has allocated. For example, 7 lakh basically birth is going to happen in Vadodara city. For that basically they have allocated one universe, one space in universe basically, that Vadodara city entire energy basically is going to store into this particular area. So people say that what actually they are doing in satellite, they are doing this only basically, they are doing this only. That's why basically their salaries are up to the infinity level basically. They sometimes a few people are so powerful basically they get the different island basically. Same as Mumbai basically is one island. Same basically they get different island, and they only stay basically there because their tasks are up to that level. And few people says that they only basically comes to the Earth planet and they only basically handles everything, and then they basically leave to the satellite, and they are up to the certain level plans basically, they are up to the so perfect basically, they whatever plan basically they decides that only basically works, and they basically controls from the satellites. So for that basically, so lots of software companies are there. He basically is connected with lot of software companies. He says that basically this is my requirement, and basically the 7 lakh basically birth is going to happen in Vadodara city. So I have allocated this many space in the universe. So you each and every energy basically the nuclear company and power company, he connected with that company, and basically they told that this is your direction. Basically you have to send your missile or whatever rocket into that particular location, to particular location. So like this basically they gives the direction of the each and every rockets, and basically that basically the each and every USA company and lots of companies are there, basically they do. And few basically the satellite group basically says that basically we don't depend on the rockets, we basically directly takes the energy, because we don't want to share the data. So that type of people are also basically there. So that is also basically a different thing, that basically why he basically do that, there might be some reason, there might be some reason. So he told that basically this is the story basically, 350 cities areas in Vadodara city, 7 lakh is the human souls which is going to take birth, and when the earth planet is going to move to that side basically, that time their energy basically is going to be used. According to that basically, wherever basically the 7 lakh birth basically moves, 7 lakh birth basically moves, their story basically gets changed. Their basically story basically gets changed. So you can just imagine, it's very dangerous basically. It's not so easy basically. It's very dangerous, because the satellite group says that we have already allocated the space for the 7 lakh. birth basically which is going to happen. And here basically the Nasbandi people basically can't take the participate because their birth is not going to happen. Na? So they are finished from that particular universe area basically. There for that basically for that sorry for that particular person basically the universe area is worth less basically. This is basically comes to the negative point basically, not positive side basically. So here basically the people says that think negative, not positive. So world basically exists. 7 lakh birth also exist. 350 city also 350 stories also exist. Vadodara city also exist. So that is basically the story. And here basically the satellite group basically says that we have allocated the space in the universe area basically. So here only basically the entire Vadodara city data is basically going to merge because I have done the attraction of the Vadodara city to this universe area. So only this area is going to be covered by the Vadodara city because you can't say take the entire universe basically. Some area basically has to be allocated. Otherwise, in future basically it will be difficult. That particular person, one person told that basically in universe basically I want the data of this particular single person basically. I want the data of this single person basically. From how basically I can get that single person data in the universe. How basically I can take the data. So for that basically we have created this system basically, and this is basically very old system basically. This is basically very old system basically. This is basically very old system. This is very old system basically. So you can just imagine basically the system. This all basically things are basically it's not happening automatically basically. The in Vadodara city is basically going to attract to that particular universe area. This is not happening automatically basically. Somebody is doing it. For that basically the people basically in Vadodara city basically lots of people are basically there basically. They are basically watching basically that this particular energy is going to that universe direction or not. For that basically they have got the softwares. They are basically doing the literally they are doing the set of plans basically. Plans means they are doing the future plan basically. You can say they are doing the future plan that this person basically generation he is supposed to go next, and this person generation is supposed to not go for next. Like this basically they literally do the plan. It's not like that everything happens automatically. It's not like that everything will happen automatically. Everything basically is planned by the universe group basically. So they say that basically we basically have setted the Vadodara city energy basically, and which is going to attract, which is going to do the attraction, so that basically the next generation will happen, so that the next generation will happen, and the energy basically is going to attract to this particular universe location basically. So just see basically the dangerous thing. It's not very dangerous, but it's very very dangerous because universe groups basically. But here the main thing is basically a human basically don't have the any energy basically that he can basically send the data to the universe. That basically only nuclear power company and the power company and the energy company basically they only have the rights to send the data of the 7 lakh birth basically, which is going to happen, which has happened, and the group basically connected with this 7 lakh birth. So that basically nuclear energy power company basically they do. So you can just imagine the dangerous level the world basically has already connected. Like this same way basically in Ahmedabad also basically city is there. There basically they say that basically it's 9 lakh birth basically is sorry the 9 lakh Human souls basically has placed there 9 lakh human souls. So according to the 9 lakh, basically the child is going to happen. Assume the 10 lakh, 10 lakh, or assume the 11 lakh. 11 lakh, because their that city is basically metropolitan city. So basically 8 lakh also will not work basically. So assume that it's a 11 lakh. 11 lakh birth is going to happen. And for that, basically, the satellite group basically told that we have allocated the space for this particular birth, basically. So that basically, Earth planet has basically given one name that is basically called next generation. That basically they have given the name as a generation. They have given the name as a generation. That's why basically this generation, that generation, this generation name as is also basically given. So every generation basically data is kept separate. So after basically next generation, the next generation, after next generation, next generation. Here basically the group basically who basically medically basically they have failed, like basically his Nasbandi has done. That type of people basically poor people basically can't take the part because their generation is finished. Their generation basically somebody has finished it. So if anything basically happens in the universe group for that generation which has not happened, then the group basically who plant this Nasbandi, they will be responsible for the universe, whatever things basically is going to happen in the universe. So that is basically different story basically. Here basically, but that is also one story basically. You can't ignore that story basically. You can't basically literally ignore that story. So somebody says that we don't ignore anything basically. We confirm basically each and everything. Then only basically we reach at the conclusion what to do of that particular guy. Of that particular guy. So like this basically the Ahmedabad city also says that basically we are going to get 11 lakh births. So basically the government says that basically we have got lots of work basically this that basically light things basically the government says that basically the attraction is going to happen to the universe group basically, and these all are the basically the data basically which has to be attracted in this particular universe location. So which data basically is going to attract, that also basically the governments only basically decides that this all the data is going to attract to this particular universe location. That is basically the next generation, that basically is created as a generation basically. So this generation is supposed to get these all features, that he should basically get these all habits. In this generation basically he is supposed to be look like that. His generation basically should be his height should be like this, his body should be like that. This all basically the government basically says that they decides next generation. In Hindi basically it is called agla generation. In Hindi basically it is called an agla generation, next generation, which basically says that the government only plans. Government basically and their group basically they do the plan. Next generation. So you just basically I basically can't think basically up to that level basically. That basically the in Ahmedabad basically 11 lakh basically birth is going to happen, and the 11 lakh birth basically is going to allocate to this particular universe location, and this is the universe location, and this basically has given name as Ahmedabad next generation, Vadodara next generation. And next generation only basically happens when the marriage happen, when the marriage basically happen. So that basically is the next generation. Ahmedabad next generation, Mumbai next generation, Vadodara next generation, Chennai next generation, Kerala next generation, Chennai next generation, Hyderabad next generation, Bangalore next generation. So these all are basically next generation. So basically, universe group says that we have kept everything clear basically. If basically they want to know basically, for example, Sunil or Nair's basically energy has reached up to what, so they can basically easily able to track that basically. They say that basically they can easily able to track that where Sunil and Nair energy basically they have attracted in the particular universe location, which is basically collected by the satellite groups. And his next generation is going to happen or not happen. They have also they have only basically decided whether his generation is supposed to happen and or his generation is not supposed to happen. So that basically is this is basically about the next generation. So the next part basically video basically which we are going to see about this only basically how basically government says that government and the satellite groups and the universe group basically who allocate this much space for 7 lakh child basically which is going to happen, and 11 lakh basically child basically which is going to happen, that Ahmedabad location universe basically area basically they have settled, and that basically has given name as a Ahmedabad next generation, Vadodara next generation. So that basically we are going to discuss in next video.